you see that thing on the outside of your reality, like maybe something you have never experienced before, like, ooh, what's that? It kind of lights you up, right? You know, it's those kind of things. That's how you expand.
Welcome back to The Gravel-Lot, your podcast about all things bike, and we are once again coming to you from the Road ID studio. As I mentioned, this is a show about all things bike, but more importantly, it's about the conversations we all have, the bonds we all share, and the community we're all building together. So, without further ado, we would like to welcome Jake Wells to The Gravel-Lot. Welcome, Jake.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. This is a great opportunity. I appreciate it.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions about DKXL and what the setup for you is like, what you're getting ready to do, what this process has been, and kind of where you're headed as you kind of approach.
You know, so every year you kind of have something that you're going to work on, right? Like, or I make this agreement instead of like New Year's resolutions, we do a kind of a commitment. Like, what are you going to commit to this year? You know, and for me, it's inspiration and motivation, right? So, what can I do? How can I best inspire and motivate others, right? So going out and doing this event that is a little bit silly, right? Like a little bit to the point of being, you know,
absurd.
We can call it that. And leaning into it and just saying, okay, I'm going to, instead of just retracting from it, like, no, that's dumb, I'm not doing that. Just lean into it and commit and do it. A lot of people ask, like, well, why are you doing a 200-mile ride, or why are you doing a 350? I think the reason why we do stuff like this is a lot of the times it's not really evident until you're out there, until you have to kind of find that on your own. And it's not, you don't sign up because you're looking for that, but it'll make itself evident during the event. Like at some point you're like, oh, okay, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this. We did a day out on the White Rim Trail in Moab that served a few purposes. One was just to get in a big day, and two was to try out this rig and see, can I do 100 miles in the desert, you know, with this amount of nutrition and hydration? So for the White Rim, in case you don't know, it's a 100-mile route that goes, it's in Moab, it goes into Canyonlands National Park. It's absolutely spectacular.
I'm more of a sunrise guy than a sunset guy, so I much rather, I get energy from it somehow. Like I feel like I get recharged when the sun comes up, so I'd much rather be out there at sunrise and be able to take that in instead of sunset. But it's only that like fleeting moment that you get to watch it just come alive or come on fire.
We started at 6 a.m. We got some amazing views of the sun coming up over Dead Horse Point and into Canyonlands and lighting up those rocks. So do this great ride, and then the idea was go back to camp, hang out for a bit, and then try out the lights. So I was going to do the loop backwards at night. I was going to start at midnight and do the loop backwards.
I went to bed yesterday afternoon and was planning on getting up at midnight or leaving the camp at midnight, and wanted to get in another loop, a reverse loop out there on the rim, and woke up around 11:15 and had kind of a sore throat, and I thought about it and I was like, all right, I could go, but like 3.5 hours of sleep, probably not the best way if I've got a sore throat to start off this next big block. So I've got a lot of training, a lot of specific stuff I got to get done between now and end of May.
Well, I'm assuming he's probably on 28-inch diameter wheels, and so circumference of that wheel is going to be the diameter times pi, so you're looking at, what, a little over 70 inches, almost 6 feet around, and then you take that and You do into 5,280 feet for a mile, so you're looking at, 800 or so revolution, 800, 900 revolutions per mile times 350. So we're over 200,000 doing all that. So a lot. So what we really wanted to do today was see how much fuel he's going to be using over the course of this race, and more specifically, how much carbohydrate. During any kind of endurance event like this, your body uses a combination of carbohydrates and fats. And even the most fit people, the thinnest people, have plenty of fat stored to get to the end of a 24-hour race like this. But what we don't have is enough carbohydrate. So a normal everyday person at the end of a maximum exercise test might get to 10 METs, 10 metabolic equivalents. And if you can do that, you're healthy. And there's a lot of good data that shows that if your exercise capacity is 10 METs or greater, then you're healthy, and your overall risk of bad things like heart disease and dying suddenly, all those kind of things, it's pretty low. In his case, and that's a maximum test for somebody, in his case, he's just sitting here cruising at that with no problem whatsoever, and he could do this all day. Most of us, if we're going to do a maximum test, we might be able to hold that kind of an exercise output for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. And he's looking at 24 hours of it, yeah. Let's see, with our calculations, he was anywhere between 120 and about 180 grams of carbohydrate per hour. We were kidding around earlier, looked at a Snickers bar, and what was it, 215 calories? So, you're looking at 2.5 Snicker bars every hour. So that's a lot of calories.
It was good. It was, I think, we didn't do a VO2 Max test, so we weren't going to maximal effort. And I don't, you're not going to be doing that in this race. If we were trying to get these zones specifically for cyclocross or for mountain bike racing or something like that, or crit, then be a little bit different protocol. But for what we're trying to calculate out, I think it was perfect. So yeah, it's manageable. You got that thing in your mouth and trying to breathe through a tube, but it's essentially what DKXL is going to be like. At some point, you're going to be feeling like you're breathing through a tube. Yeah, and I think even just with the DKXL, it is still a race, but I think for me at least, the competitiveness of it is not the driving force. It's more you and yourself. Like pushing your body, pushing your mind, and you're just out there with other people doing the same thing, right? So it's. But I mean, that to me, that's when you kind of enter the spirit world, that isolation, and you're left with nothing but this mundane or repetitive motion and your thoughts.
I mean, because it's the XL, it's self-supported, we want to honor the race, so we're not going to be following you at all. But maybe if we can just review some of the kind of time checks where you think you might be. So when Linda and Tatum are here, we can get them out.
So rolling through Madison, which is right here, 50 miles to get to Madison. And it's another 60 to get down here to Eureka.
So we're at 110?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 110 from here to here. So I'm thinking rolling through Eureka, probably right around dusk.
Okay.
Like sunset,
yeah,
and then dusk, like
beautiful light.
Lights on right here.
Yep. Okay.
From here forward. So stop here, fill up with bottles, top off, lights on, heading back north. So then we go up to Cottonwood Falls right here. So that's that big push, 94 miler. That would put us somewhere around 3:45 to 4 a.m. range. And then working south, so Alma, from here it's only 64 miles to the finish. Okay. It's charging here.
I mean, maybe I'm over romanticizing what the suffering is all about, but for me, adding miles and doing these big epic events it's such a strong way to connect to life and to connect to humanity and to connect to other humans that it's teaching you about yourself, but I think it's teaching you how to be better towards everyone else around you.
It's going to be a long day out there, obviously, a long day and a long night and a long day the next day. But again, what I was saying earlier, you all have worked very, very hard to get to this point. You need to have faith in that hard work. And just remember that I'll be there at that finish line, ready to give a hug to each and every one of you. And I can't wait to do it.
Situation is looking good. Jake's in the lead group. It's still sunny.
So we're over here just outside of Eureka, which Jake said was going to be his first stop as he was going to bypass the rest stop here in Madison.
So Jake is in second. This is Matt Acker. He's just a little bit ahead. Got the 4 leading.
I like watching him, even for like the 5 seconds we see him, but that's okay.
Well, and it changes your reality, your perception of reality, right? So if you think about your reality as a circle, you know, and you're inside that circle, and sometimes you're bouncing around inside that circle and you bounce up to the edge of it, right? That's your reality, you know, and that's what's possible. And then maybe you watch a movie like Blood Road, or you watch a movie like Shared Territory, you know, or you listen to a podcast about the DKXL, or you read a book, or you experience something, and that expands your reality, right? So all of a sudden, where you were bouncing around, those parameters, those limits, you've gone beyond that.
And that's what I would do. If I was in first and second place, I said, let's ride together through the night. And then, you know, tomorrow morning when the sun comes up, the best man takes off. You know, we're not trying to break a record. You know, we're just out here, you know, if you're the best man, you'll win. If I'm the best man, I'll win. Sometimes the best men don't win. You know, you can have a flat car 10 miles from the finish and you can break a crank. Your frame can break, you know. You can have my buddy was out on an afternoon ride, had a heart attack and died. You know, there's a lot of things that happen, you know, so. But if you're with somebody and something does happen, you hit a bump, you go over the handlebar, you break your collarbone, you know, your phone go, You know, if somebody there with you, he can get help. And it's, to me, it's the bottom line. It's a stinky bike ride. That's all it is. It's a stinky bike. It's not the Tour of France. It's not, you know, it's just people out here having fun. And it's good for young men and old men to see how far they can go.
With DKXL, you know, it's futile to, I think, to come into it with any kind of result in mind.
It's more of, for the next 25 or whatever hours, how far can you push yourself, and whether the result is first or 75th.
Yep.
This is so much more about like human spirit and conquering mental toughness, physical toughness, emotional toughness. It just kind of encompasses life as a whole.
So I was a little distraught. He had dropped down to like 18 and everyone else was at 22, 23. But then I was thinking, well, he could be going uphill. So he's fine now. It's 22. But so he is about 2 kilometers away from JP, and we are way over here, and he is way over here, so I don't know how long that will take. 30 minutes?
He's still sitting in second?
Yeah, still in second. So we're at 11:15 p.m. or so. So they're gonna be doing some solo, because I mean, he's been by himself now for a couple hours, right? At least an hour and a half.
Yeah, so he's concerned because there's a portion of the event that's about, I think he was saying 14 hours in, that he may have to go 105 miles with no place to refuel. So he's going to have to carry all of his fuel on him for that length of time. Liquid's heavy, so in that case, he's not going to want to carry that much liquid with him, so he's going to have to switch over to something more dense, more concentrated form of carbohydrate. So that's going to be food, gels, blocks, whatever it tastes good, whatever his stomach can handle at that point.
Daddy! Unless it's somebody going to work. Woo! Hi, Daddy.
What do we do?
Go. Everybody's leaving. They're not open yet.
Everybody's going to the bakery or what?
They're just...
I think they just left.
I can't do that. I gotta wait.
How you feeling, man?
10 minutes. I'm cooked. I'm pretty worked. I haven't been able to eat, like, at all.
Because of the roads?
No, just my stomach's not happy. It's Lil.
Hey, Lil.
What's up, girl?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're still closed.
Oh, rats. They just need some water.
Their faucet?
No, faucet.
And I need to move my chin real quick.
Apparently there's a bakery that's close that is alternate route.
I think the bakery's in Eureka.
Yeah, I think that was the last one.
I think there's a
Was
park
it?
right here, though. I might go scope that out.
See if there's water there.
All right, well,
I'm gonna run over there too. Get some agua.
do some maintenance.
Thirsty. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Cool to see ya.
Cool to see you too.
What really likes to have carbs, your muscles when you're working, but also your brain. If anybody's ever hit the wall in a marathon, they know what I'm talking about. You just suddenly you go from feeling rock solid to hitting the wall. You know, you feel like you're running in mud. You can barely keep your eyes open. Your head feels sluggish, and you just slow down. You naturally have to slow down because at that point there's a tug of war going on between muscles wanting carbs, brain wanting carbs, and at the end of the day, your brain's going to it's going to win out every time.
Oh,
Nice to see ya.
yeah, you too. I'm doing okay.
don't feel that good. I'm having trouble eating. You know?
When you bonk, that's your brain not, that's an unhappy brain. Your brain's not getting the carbs that it wants. Well, that's when you either pass out or you have a seizure. I mean, it's bad stuff.
You guys. Got it, Jake.
Usually you get nauseated, you feel like you vomit, you feel like you're going to pass out, you're just miserable.
You know, you don't have to make that decision right now.
And there's no way you can put one foot in front of the other. And the problem in a race, once that happens, there's no way of coming back from that.
Breathe in. Pause. Now mind on your breath. Bring it to that four-sided breath. This is us right here. Alright. But even though we're here, go back to it. Thank you, T.
I don't think it's smart to go on. I haven't eaten anything other than those chips in like the last 5 hours.
Think about why you're here. The sun will be up in an hour or less.
You know, I made mental notes of like talking about the unknowns in ultra endurance. It's such a linear comparison talking about that experience in nationals with mechanical issues and just not feeling emotionally clued in, and then just resetting at pit one of like, okay, well, this is where you're at. Mm-hmm. What can you do from here? You can either quit or you can dig in and try and get something out of it.
So this race, probably the most important 4 minutes of these 40 minutes of racing.
Definitely.
All right, the bike flight's light goes green, and they're underway. Certainly looks like Wells to me. That's going to be Jake Wells spinning it out and getting the whole shot onto the dirt.
That was that was a very amazing kind of set of circumstances for you. What was your nationals experience like this year?
I got the whole shot. So again, I was coming in as defending champion, so was one of the favorites. I get the whole shot, and we go from the pavement into the first big mud hole. As soon as I got into the mud and started pedaling, my bike was just skipping. I didn't feel like I could really, it wasn't engaging. So I moved from whole shot to like 16.
Even Wells having some trouble here. Arguably one of the best, if not the best, or most consistent single-speed men's riders around the country.
And an amazing bike handler. He won the race I was in earlier this week in slippery conditions, not so soupy, but definitely slippery, and rode away from the field. So
at that point, I look at the front of the race, and I could tell, it's a pretty big gap back to 16th at that point. And you can look across and you can see those guys are already off and running. Those guys are gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to see the front today. Like those guys are gone. They deserve it. They had checked all the boxes. They made sure everything was tip top. Again, it goes back to that ability to clue in to, what's this providing for me? Is it only providing something if I win? And for me, it's not, right? It's going to provide something, whether you like it or not, it's going to provide something. That's where that mental work or the mental exercises have helped, because I can clue into it and say, what's your goal? My goal is to inspire and motivate, right? I can do that from 16th. So what do I need to do to inspire and motivate? What can I do, right? I can't change the fact that I'm in 16th. I can't change the fact that I went from first to just inside the top 20. That's already done. I can't control that, right? The things I can control is what I'm doing right now. Here's the opportunity. Now you asked for it, right? You put it out there and said, hey, what I want to be able to do is inspire and motivate. How am I going to do that? Well, we're going to have you start in 16 and claw your way back.
Here we go with Justin.
Oh, little slip for Robinson. He saved it.
But yeah, you have to find footing. And so often these footprints just become hollowed out. You know, they become washed away, and it's not enough of a ridge to sit on.
Wow.
But Jake Wells is right there.
Wells
That's a very, very small gap.
And Josh Whitney on his wheel. So something must have happened out there that we
missed
didn't
the Wells
see.
charge, that's for sure.
And Jake is a very good runner.
Yeah.
He's very strong running. He's going to have a great shot of getting back onto Justin and then going back through the pits the final time.
And when he was back in 10th place after that hole shot, I kind of wrote him off thinking that bad start was going to be too much to overcome, but he's going to make the catch right here on the limestone stairs. All of a sudden, this is 3 riders up at the front of the men's single speed race.
And I blew up this photo for my studio, and it's me coming around this corner, and I've got one foot out, and it's super muddy, and there's all these kids. It looks like they're 12, 13-year-old kids, and they're all just looking with the kind of mouth open, you know. And to me, like, that's exactly what I want. That encompasses exactly what I wanted to do. Like, that's vision attained, as we call it, right? Like, so you've inspired and motivated.
I remember Jake Wells, a collegiate runner, and his background paid off today as he ran away from the rest of this field. That was the last time over the barriers for Jake Wells, and he's going to lock up another single-speed men's national championship.
2 last year, 2 this year.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish, and Jake Wells showed that today.
Yeah, you guys just gonna watch over Jake while he takes a nap?
Yeah, we're like his bodyguards.
He wasn't feeling too good earlier. He was feeling sick and he couldn't eat. But it's getting light out, he's sleeping, and then he's gonna hopefully go. So
That's exciting.
Yeah.
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 Here we go.
Love you! Woo! Good morning! Just like that. You rock!
There's so much about the experience of athletics that can teach you about life, and I love that your approach of that competition is how do I get better as a human on this arc of life,
right?
Of what is this story that I'm weaving, tell other people about who I am and the kind of ripples that I create out into the world. And there's more to a result than the black and white. Like, there's this whole very colorful Technicolor story that goes with that, and I think it's something that we miss as that humanity piece of telling all of these stories.
It was cool how at the beginning he was super pumped, and then he went from not like wanting to go anymore, thinking he was gonna die, to ending with like a smile.
St. Louis, Missouri.
I think this whole event with the DKXL is, you know, you're looking for ways to connect with folks, and that's one of the things that I think that drives me to do a lot of this stuff is, you know, everybody likes the success story of, you know, this person came from here and they got there, or this person, you know, they won this event, they trained so hard and everything went perfect, or maybe things didn't go perfect, but they still won. But I think that that's not most people's story.
But I do want to wrap up, and I want to ask you the question that you know that was coming since the beginning. You knew that we were going to ask you about how you found bikes, and you know we're going to ask you this last one is if there is a nugget that we can give the Pebbles if they've fast forwarded through this entire thing because they were tired of listening to me and John below V8. What would you want that nugget for the Pebbles to be?
It's just that what we've been touching on kind of this whole time of if something forces you to retract, instead of retracting from it and staying in your comfort zone, you got to lean into it. Say yes to it, even if it scares you. You know, like lean into it, man. Like try it and expand your reality because, to build on that is not because you owe it to yourself, right? And not because you have to prove anything to anybody else, but because you deserve to live a life that's fulfilled. And if you just cruise through living in this reality that's always comfortable, are you really being fulfilled?